pride. Blinded by our ambition, we opened a door better left closed, and loosed hell upon Astara.
The story of Vexx revolves around the titular character, an alien farm boy named Vexx. His planet was a peaceful agrarian society which was attacked by the warlord Dark Yabu, a shadow wraith. And, yeah. This story is a little bit edgy, so just a heads up. You might want to head over to your local Hot Topic real quick and get some, fingerless gloves and a My Chemical Romance band tee before going any further in this video. Anyway, Vexx and his grandfather Vargas are enslaved and beaten down until Vexx just can't take it anymore and retaliates. As a punishment, Vexx's grandfather is killed in front of him. Vexx somehow stumbles onto a pair of quote-unquote war talons, yada yada yada. Now Vexx is the chosen one, and has to get over his sullen attitude and put away his Papa Roach tapes for a minute to get revenge on Yabu for killing his grandfather. It's your basic revenge story, and there isn't really much to it. There's a twist and turn along the way, and there is some backstory and world building aided by collectible journal pages that give you some insight, but largely the story is what it is. It doesn't insist upon itself, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. I think that as edgy and emo as the story may be, it works well enough with the aesthetic of the world and of the gameplay. It becomes more endearing than annoying in any way, and it is well executed and overall enjoyable. The game itself is your basic 3D collectathon platformer, and I think that may be why this game was so overlooked when it released. It is one of the last of a dying genre. The 3D collectathon had well overstayed its welcome by 2003 when Vexx released, and Vexx is very much a roots 3D collectathon, which is most easily compared to Super Mario 64, a true blue 3D platformer and proud of it, almost to the point of its own injury. People were tired of 3D platformers by this time because the market was incredibly oversaturated with them. Most of them were not very good. The 3D platformer was the genre of choice if you just wanted to, make a game for a quick buck. Movies, kids' movies, often made licensed games in this genre as well. Basically, by 2003, the genre had been beaten with a stick until dead, and then beaten some more. Vexx, however, isn't just your run-of-the-mill 3D platformer cash grab. It is a well-polished, well-rounded, incredibly well-thought-out 3D platformer that borrows from the masters and improves on genre conventions. If you've played any significant amount of Super Mario 64, you will find yourself right at home in Vexx, as the game takes that old classic and gussies it up a bit. The control scheme is almost identical, and the gameplay is extremely similar, but with much improved combat and tighter controls. The combat is an early version of what you might call Arkham combat, the kind of fighting style that you see in the Batman Arkham games. An incredibly intuitive system for the 6th generation, and on top of that there are special attacks such as an uppercut, a mid-air kick, and a ground slam a la Super Mario. Vexx's fighting style feels heavy and brutal, and the sound effects that go along with the combat back this up. Many platformers skimp on combat, but not Vexx. It feels satisfying to fight, and that is a good thing. The platforming, however, is pure old school, function before form. The levels in the game all have a theme, but the obstacles you do your platforming on come before the design, and sometimes detract from the theme of the level. But this isn't a bad thing necessarily. A lot of games tend to paint themselves into a corner, not letting platforming take precedence over the theme or locale they are trying to convey. But Vexx borrows heavily from Mario in letting as many nonsensical, physically improbable floating platforms and pinpoint precision catwalks exist in any level as long as it lends itself to fun and difficulty. This is a great design, and I think it really makes the game addicting. The reason Vexx is traversing these levels is similar, and by similar I mean identical, to Super Mario 64. Vexx is tracking Wraith Hearts, the main collectible in the game. Wraith Hearts act as keys to new areas in the game. Collect the number of Wraith Hearts printed on a locked door, and that door unlocks. There are around 10, sometimes fewer, Wraith Hearts in any given world, and they can be collected in any order. This makes for free-form, no hand-holding gameplay, and it makes Vexx open up in ways that not many games do. You can spend as little or as much time in any given world as you wish, and if you have trouble getting a specific heart, you can come back later when you have refreshed yourself in another world or on another heart. There are other collectibles too, such as heart shards, which act the same as golden coins in Super Mario. Collect 100 of them and you get a free Wraith Heart. There are soul bottles, collect 10 for a heart, and there are diary pages, which give some exposition to the backstory. Not super important, but they lend clues as to what's happening in the plot behind the scenes and give you some much needed context if you are invested in the story. Vexx will also find these coins called runes throughout the game, which give him new abilities when activated at certain points in worlds. Abilities like a lava form, which makes him invincible, or wings that allow him to fly to previously out-of-reach hearts. These add a lot of depth to the gameplay and make for a more varied and unique gameplay experience. Another interesting feature is Vexx's day and night cycle. During the day, the world is as it should be in every level, but when the sun sets, portals to new areas open, and enemies transform into a darker, stronger, harder to beat variant. It doesn't have a huge impact on gameplay, but it is a really neat feature which is present in every world. There are also an abundance of mini-games and subworlds in which you enter pure, unadulterated platforming, or fight in Mario Party-like mini-games against your inner demons. Yes, I said it. This game is edgy and Vexx has inner demons, and they lend themselves to tight, concise minigames, so you know what? Don't worry about it. One of my few gripes, however, is with Vexx's use of water levels. Vexx came out at a point in gaming in which swimming was always bad. No matter what game you played, any swimming section usually was horrendous. Vexx doesn't have the worst swimming controls in the world. In fact, for the time they were pretty intuitive. However, Vexx throws you in the drink far more often than it should, and water levels, even with improved control, are a headache. Vexx has entirely too many water levels, in my opinion. Visually, Vexx may be less impressive than you might expect with a 6th gen game. Though the characters all look great, have high polygon count models and good textures, the world is a lot less so. It is blocky and feels extremely dated even by 2003 standards. Perhaps this is a side effect of the gameplay being so Nintendo 64-y. It is a 5th gen platformer stuck in the body of a 6th gen game, and it shows. The textures on the terrain are just a step above the Nintendo 64's expansion pack games like Donkey Kong 64, and at times even less impressive. There are some areas with better textures, but oftentimes the world just looks muddy and is not that great to look at. Character models, however, heroes and villains alike, are fantastic and have a great amount of style and personality. Especially Darby and Vexx. Enemies are a bit generic, but still manage to look great. From this Goomba with horns to this reject Roger from American Dad, all the characters look pretty decent. Another thing to note is the oddly low draw distance. Grass, items, even enemies fade out and back in when viewed from a certain distance. It's a strange effect, and it doesn't seem to have any reason for being there. The world is so low resource, with low polygon counts and small textures, you might imagine the draw distance would be a great deal higher, but it isn't. Audio in Vexx is competent. The music that is there is thematic and sparse. Though not iconic, it fits within the world just fine, and gives you that sort of cheesy epic vibe that I think the game is going for. Creatures make sounds that are distinct and easy to spot, and when you hit them they cry out, indicating the hit. A good addition to any game with combat. Where the audio really shines, I think I mentioned this earlier, is that it aids in making Vexx seem like a heavy hitter. His gauntlets buzz and hiss like a lightsaber, and make a satisfying crash whenever they make contact with anything. It has no impact on gameplay, but it definitely adds to the feeling of being in control of a powerful weapon like the War Talons. Great audio design. The acting is also actually pretty good. 2003 was still an era of hammy voice actors in gaming, and Vexx manages to make the best of this by letting the voice actors, what few there are, ham it up without sacrificing atmosphere.
When I found you, I thought you dead, so I brought you here. This chamber is where the past Talon bearers are entombed. Cursed things nearly cut my hands off as I carried you here.
The voice actors don't take their roles too seriously and play their characters competently. When all is said and done, Vexx is an incredible 3D platformer that was unfortunately ignored by most. It has an edgier-than-thou personality that is so in line with the early 2000s it's crazy, and you just can't help but love this game. The gameplay is tight and pulls from the masters, while also leaving room to be itself. And though the polish that is present in the first few levels isn't as obvious late game, it still manages to hold itself together with a 4 out of 5. And there you have it, Vexx, a fantastic 3D platformer. If you haven't played this, I strongly recommend you check it out. If you have, leave me a comment below, tell me what you thought. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.